I'd like to call the meeting for July 13th, 2020 into order. I'd like to welcome everyone, and if you will now stand, pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. The only announcement that I have is concerning Mr. Raines' seat. Tim, according to the folks at the county and the state, he does not have to run this year because he was asked to fill the remainder of the term. So I know there's been some questions floating around out in town about that, but that is official state, institute of government, and Buncombe County's stamp on it. And with that, I have proclamation, probably one of the proclamation I've been looking the most forward to for ever since I've been on this board. So with that, Mr. DeWitt. You'll stand right about there, brother. Come on, you can get a little closer. All right. John will hand you this. No, I need to sign first.
Hey, John.
Proclamation honoring John DeWitt. Whereas John DeWitt, Black Mountain Rotary Club, has been named recipient of the Service Above Self Award for the year 2019-2020. Whereas this award is the highest honor for individual Rotarians, with only 150 recognized annually throughout the world. Whereas he has demonstrated exemplary humanitarian service with an emphasis on personal volunteer efforts and active involvement in helping others through Rotary and other volunteer organizations within Black Mountain. Whereas John DeWitt has served as the Children, Friends Enrichment Center on their board and in many other volunteer service capacities in the town of Black Mountain and Buncombe. Whereas John served and led the development of Black Mountain Town Square, spearheading many of the main features, working with Werner as chairman of the board and developing a new school at elementary. Whereas John is a visionary and saw that Children and Friends Enrichment Center did not have enough space to serve children in the Swandoe Valley and spearheaded the expansion and relocation of the center beginning in 2016 through seeking out grant funding, private funding over 3 years to fund the new center, which will provide educational opportunities to Black Mountain. Whereas John is a selfless servant and contributor to humanitarian efforts, as well as a friend who is loved and cherished by all who know him. Having been described as a strong, supportive, encouraging, a leader, and a visionary. Now, therefore, I, Don Collins, Mayor of the town of Black Mountain, and the Board of Aldermen express sincere appreciation for his tireless volunteerism, unselfish, dedicated to service, and recognize the significant impact of his contributions to the Black Mountain communities. John truly is a man to match our mountains. I'd like to say these two things about John. It's amazing what you can get done when you don't care who gets the credit. That's John DeWitt. The purpose of life is to live life with a purpose, and he's always done that. He's a good friend of mine, and I can't tell you how much he's done for this town, how much he moves in the background working with people to make things happen. That town square up there, it's there, and it looks like it does because of him. So, John, with that, I'm going to sign this one. Thank you, my friend.
such a pleasure, to do all this with Black Mountain, but also to be recognized internationally by Rotary for some of the other projects that I do. So this is my official retirement page, right?
I doubt you until the day you die. I know.
So I thank you all so much. It's just, I can't do it without the support of this community. Volunteers in this community who just allow me to do the things we do. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Josh, you have an announcement?
Let's see. So, I guess before we move any forward to do citizen comments, I would like to welcome and introduce our new town clerk assistant to the manager, Miss Savannah Parrish. She comes to us from the Christ School, where she's worked for 5 years as advancement office manager. She has a master's degree in public affairs from Western Carolina University, and I know, at least I can speak for myself, I am excited to have her on board, and her first day on the job will be next Thursday on the 23rd.
Okay. Great to have you with us.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
All right, we have citizen comments.
All right, so we did receive 4 citizen comments for this agenda, relating specifically to item 8B, which is ordinance 0-20-09, which relates to amendment to Chapter 43, parades, festivals, and special events. I also provided you a copy it's marked up, and we can deal with that when we get to it in the agenda. However, I need to go ahead and read these comments. Like I said, 4 total comments. 2 of the comments I've already addressed with these 2 individuals by sending them the marked up copy, and they were fine with it. The other 2 comments, I think, at least need to be read so they can be heard. So one is from Philitha Holloway, and she states, first of all, please allow more time for citizen comment and review before passing this change to the ordinance. The citizens impacted need more time to digest the implications of the changes and time to provide comment to the board before passing this change, given the implications for First Amendment rights. I can see one type of gathering that is omitted entirely from this ordinance, and that is vigils for people who have died, often through acts of violence. Although Helpmate organizes these for victims of domestic violence, and what about more spontaneous vigils for victims of school shootings that often occur the day after the shooting on school grounds? Those types of vigils, in my opinion, should be excluded from these requirements, as asking grieving friends and relatives to even think about the possibility there might be requirements like this that they have to comply with would be hard-hearted. If you are not willing to completely remove a requirement for memorial vigils to do some type of reporting to the town, then the paperwork requirement should be reduced to the bare minimum needed by the police department. The next comment is from Robin Josephs, and it says, I ask that amendment to Chapter 43 not be voted on until there is adequate time for community, citizens, and any with interest in creating public events and utilizing public space to study the amendment and provide input. We are all stakeholders in our ability to create events, speak out in public, and use public space to draw attention to issues and events. The current board is not representational of local citizens, with 2 appointees and self-selecting extended terms in office by changing the election cycle. While open discussion is always in the public interest, please do not make any decisions on amendment to Chapter 43 until citizens and stakeholders are able to be part of the decision of changing this policy. The other 2 comments, as I've mentioned, are similar to these, but like I said, those were addressed when I sent out the marked up copy.
Okay.
Any discussion among the board? All right, without hearing any communication from staff, boards, commissions, agency, we have none. The consent agenda, Josh.
Item 5A is a call for public hearing for text amendments to our land use code to add stream buffer requirements as an ordinance. Currently, our language in our land use code only talks about stream buffers as it relates to the stormwater ordinance. This specific ordinance really is going to be kind of all-encompassing and will address issues that may come into play without having to deal with stormwater. So this amendment, of course, will be public hearing for August, and so this is the call for. But this language comes from EPA, and it's going to give a little more leniency, from the way I read it at least, to not be so strict. If staff has the ability to make some accommodations, we can reduce that buffer from 15 feet instead of 30 feet from top of bank. So there will be some wiggle room in there if folks were to need it, if they were building close to a stream. But like I said, that will be on your agenda for public hearing in August. 5B, a budget amendment for the golf fund. So this is to finish out fiscal year 20 that we just finished. This is for, looks like we're about $86,000 in the red in the golf course, which is better than last year, so that's a good thing. What the budget amendment does is just, we can't have negative cash flow in a fund, so that'll zero that out, and this is for transferring $100,000 from fund balance to the golf fund to even out that negative cash balance. 5C, budget amendment for water system service contract. Something we did not know before we took over the new customers with the city of Asheville. Once we get to a certain number of customers, there are more reporting requirements. So currently we have been doing monitoring and reporting 5 days a week. With the new customers, we have to go to 7 days a week, which is going to cost us more money on our contract. But we are still going to be cheaper than hiring a full-time person to do that. And the increase on that is $18,000 a year for that contract. There's a typo in the motion for consideration. It says transfer from water capital $100,000. That should be $18,000. 5D is a budget amendment for the restoration on Riverwalk Greenway easement. If you'll recall, during last year's budget, as we adopted it, we put some extra money in there for some greenway work down below the Swannanoa Valley Friends Christian Ministry down on Flat Creek. We never spent that $20,000 to do that work. So what staff is asking the board to do is to appropriate $20,000 so we can go ahead and get that work done. We need to get that work done in order to get an easement from them to put the greenway through there. And let's see, 5E. This is a resolution supporting Blue Ridge Road interchange, otherwise known as I-4409. Well, I think we all know this is a funded transportation project on the state transportation improvement plan. We just want to support this interchange. I know it's been delayed a little bit just due to some funding issues with DOT. Right-of-way acquisition is scheduled for June of 2021, and construction is scheduled to begin in June of 2023. I think that will be item 5F. You have a resolution to approve financing terms for sanitation vehicles. I didn't go through here and add that like I was supposed to at the beginning of the meeting, but this is something that I had talked to the mayor about adding to the agenda. This is a resolution to approve financing terms for our sanitation vehicles. The terms from BB&T came in great, 1.61% for 7 years. Extremely inexpensive for the financing rate, and the total amount is $624,000, which puts us at about $94,000 a year for a payment on those sanitation vehicles. And that will be your consent agenda.
Okay. I need a motion to approve consent items A through F as presented.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes 4-0.
Need a roll call that since we're.
Yes.
Yes, we probably do. Let's do a roll call. All right.
Ryan Stone, aye.
Larry Harris, aye.
Maggie Tuttle, aye. Jennifer Willett, aye.
Okay. Did we have any citizen comments for unfinished and new business?
I read it.
Okay, Josh.
7A, this is Art in the Afternoon lease renewal. Ron, you want to take us a little bit through this? I know this is, I'll just say, I think with uncertainty of what the governor may speak to next about schools opening, probably will make an impact on this lease.
The Arts in the Afternoon lease expires in August, And so this is a proposal essentially to give her another lease for another year, the same rate, same responsibilities. And as Josh said, if you approve the lease tonight, that doesn't really tell us where we're going for the next year, but at least it leaves her in a position to plan if she can those parts in the afternoon. There's no change from terms from last year. Everything is carried forward, rent rate, everything's the same.
I will say I did speak with Stephanie, and obviously she, depending on the number of children that she's going to be having attend art in the afternoon, she does have some concerns of being able to pay $1,000 a month. And I talked to her today, and I said, without knowing what's going to happen, I think myself, and I don't know what the answer is, but she talked about potentially doing a percentage of the amounts. If she has less children than normal, maybe she do a percentage of like 20%, I think is what she used to do, of the tuition that they pay, which is like $260 some a month, I think, per child. But at this point, without knowing what the governor's going to do, I think it's just kind of a shot in the dark.
Any comments, questions?
I think it's, I don't know what we can do, but renew her lease, it's the same terms as she had, and if, when we find out more, we can address what we need to do if she can't operate.
But that's what the board has done through spring, is forgiving her rent over the course of several months.
Right.
It's just, it's going to be a fluid situation for a while.
And it's not as if we have anybody else who's asked to lease the space or anything either, so. I make a motion that we approve the lease, resolution approve the art in the afternoon lease renewal as presented to us by Attorney Sneed.
All in favor, roll call vote, please.
Ryan Stone, aye.
Larry Harris, aye.
Maggie Tuttle, aye.
Jennifer Willett, aye.
Passes 4-0. Okay, new business, Josh.
I will also refer 8A, which is an offer to purchase town property on Flat Creek Road and East Street, PIN numbers 0710419092 and 0710419003 for $20,000 with Attorney Sneed as well.
It might be helpful if you flip to item 8A in the agenda packet, but some of you may remember that a few years, we have 3 lots down there, but the two lots in question, Dr. John Curry, who is a friend of mine who's also a lawyer, and I've convinced him to keep practicing medicine and stay away from the practice of law. But he had this inclination to buy deals in property, and he bought this junk property. And when John died, his kids promptly gave it to the town because they didn't know what to do with water and with lots of the floodway. He had the sewer lines. As the rest of you, some of you know now, we have a fellow who is inclined to buy crazy property to John Curry, and that's Fred Alexander. Fred owns property adjoining this, and so he has looked at it and offered to pay $20,000 for what's shown on the map as PIN numbers ending in 9092, 9003. If you've got the color printout and aerial, you'll see that there's a set of blue lines through there. Everything inside the blue lines that encompasses most of 9092 is floodway. You can build nothing in there. You can do practically nothing. You've got a little bit of room in the floodway, but out of the flood zone before you get to the sewer line that runs down through the middle of 9003. That's a 35-foot wide lot with a 20-foot wide sewer line eastern through. And so he thought that $20,000 is probably a good amount to offer. He did throw the carrot in there. The reason the town even considered accepting this several years ago, and the Curry family wanted to get rid of it, is the potential possibly of coming through there with a greenway. And Fred says, if you ever want it, you got it. But he is offering $20,000. The process, as you may recall, if that's acceptable to the town, there's a resolution which declares the property surplus and tentatively accepts this offer. In which case, if you do, that will be advertised once in the newspaper, and we see if we get any upset bids within 10 days. If nobody else bids for it, you can sell it to Fred. If somebody else bids, we do that again until we get it topped off. I'm guessing you're not likely to get an upset bid in that floodway, but he has made that proposal and asked me to bring it forward.
So, Ron, would the right for the town to have an easement for a greenway. Was that entered on the deed so that it's there?
We will commit to that in writing. It probably won't read in the deed because we don't know the location. But Brent said he'll document that in a way to assure the town that if he gets it. Again, this can be upset, so that's just sort of a carrot, but don't base your decision on that. Base your decision on whether the town otherwise has use for property and if 20,000 is acceptable for this property.
Because if he passed away.
But I can handle if he gets it passed away. I can take care of that. But what if he gets outbid?
Yeah.
That's the question.
But you can handle it if he bought it, we do an agreement and everything, and he passed away, that'd still be fine.
Yeah, we put that on.
Yeah.
Other than the $20,000, what benefit is it to the town?
What benefit? Oh, to sell it? Oh, that's not it. It's $20,000. And again, if Fred gets it, you still got means for easement for Greenway if you ever do want to go that way. Again, can't base it on that. But other than that, it's just land. I don't know as the town, unless somebody knows the use for it, I don't. Fred saw it as something that's sitting there. It's a floodplain, the sewer line. It's never going to be built on. Probably the town doesn't want to put a park in some isolated spot. If he did, if Fred thought that was the plan, he would be here with an offer or not. But I don't know any. But yeah, the benefit to the town is a piece of property not to have to keep an eye on and clean up after storms and you get $20,000.
But if we do put a greenway up there, that would be a perfect location to put a small park of some kind.
Sure. And I don't think you would rush that long. But again, if Fred gets outbid, I don't have enough said there. Won't give you that. That'll be part of the package.
All right, is there any discussion among the board?
I'm a little hesitant, just because I feel like that the board maybe hasn't honed in on the implications of selling it. I don't know that there are any, but I'm a little hesitant to make them, I'm a little hesitant to make a motion to accept this bid and put it out, then to put notice out to the public. I'm a little hesitant to do that tonight for some reason. Does anybody else have any hesitation about it?
If there's concern, again, this is something that it's not an emergency on anybody's.
Yeah, that's just it. It's not that pressing. He's not going to do anything with it, probably. I mean, not much he can do with it.
He makes that blueberry bushes where he's allowed, but that's about it.
Yeah. So I'm just a little hesitant, the whole thing with the park, and I wouldn't mind it if Josh would explore that a little bit and see, because that's in a part of town that we don't serve, a lot of that way.
Right.
It's also by the creek, right?
Yeah.
Which is, you don't want to put much there because you get washed away, but at the same time, it's a nice place for a picnic or whatever, it could be. It seems like it could be. So I'd just like to let Josh and Josh Henderson take a hard look and see what the prospects are for using it for a park, if that's practical, because that's the only thing that I can think of that we might want to think through just a little bit more. But
So Ron, what do we do and how do we handle this? We just don't take a vote?
Just don't take an action. If it helps, just a motion to carry this over for consideration next month, what do you think about it?
it gives you time to do that.
Yeah,
Be fine.
yeah, I feel like we need a little more thought on this one, yeah.
You need a motion to do that,
Yep.
carry it over to next month.
Yeah, it's on the agenda, so it has to be moved along somehow.
Yeah, so I make a motion that we table it until next month.
All right, motion on the floor.
Ryston, aye.
Maggie Tuttle, aye. Jennifer Willett, aye.
Larry Harris, aye.
Larry's motion's approved 4-0. Okay,
Sure. Next item is 8B. This Town Attorney Sneed will also take care of this one. I did provide each of you with a stapled copy of the markup of this ordinance. Well, that Attorney Sneed kind of go through it.
And this was initiated by Jessica. She came up with the questions of where, and obviously the current recent events brought to our attention that we have a gaping hole in our special event ordinance, and we didn't address demonstrations, we didn't want to penalize free speech, but everything got clumped together. And so she sent it to me in notes, and I did the rewrite. What I did, in the interest of my purposes, is if you pass it, what it does is revoke the old ordinance as it reads, completely replaces it. But if you seem to match up the marked up copy, the deadline copy, there's not a huge number of changes. Mostly it's to open up those free speech rights for demonstrators, to tighten up a couple of other little things. But again, a lot of it, not a lot of change. Mostly just making demonstrations clearly. We won't notice we can have it. There's not going to be a fee for public demonstrations or exercising free speech rights. There's no penalty if it happens spontaneously, that's fine. But if you know you're having a demonstration, if you could give us some warning, we want to protect those demonstrators as well as everything else. I heard the comments earlier about building in an exception for vigils for those who died. Don't know where they fit in the scheme of things. If this board wants to address that, that's probably a different item to be dealt with in these. Typically a vigil for the 60-year-old is not a typical free speech, public interest, First Amendment issue. And so if the board wants to address that down the road, perhaps so. But I think it may be a little rough at this point. We want to get something in place. We didn't want to leave demonstrators thinking they had to give the town 30 days notice and come and pay a fee. We want that free speech. There's an education part of demonstrations and free speech and First Amendment rights that we may want to address over time. Is although you have First Amendment rights, you don't have them everywhere. People need to know that if they decide that the way we're going to exercise their free speech is to stand in the middle of 240 or I-40, that's not a typical public forum. You don't get to randomly exercise your free speech rights there. But the ordinance has been amended to try to at least open that up and clean it up. That if it's a demonstration, exercise First Amendment rights, you're good to go.
Questions from the board?
What about the insurance? Does that apply for demonstrations? No. I will say that thinking in the terms of the First Amendment rights, demonstrations we've been seeing, but I'd love to find some way to insure us against risk, but there's really not. Because they can happen spontaneously, it's hard to treat people who plan ahead for a demonstration different than those who suddenly, due to current events, their demonstration won't. It's a little, how do you start parsing that out? Well, does that language need to be addressed about the insurance? I mean, I hear what you say, but I wasn't clear that it read that way. And I think it deals with this festival, especially this event. Probably need to work on that wording a little, it's not real clear. So it's 4373, and it's 10. Intention of the applicant or sponsor of organization to provide proof of adequate liability. So it doesn't exclude them, but the language. If the board would like, I think, and I can just add a line there, except for, and I think I would define them as First Amendment demonstrations exercise First Amendment rights. That would seem helpful. And just make that an exception to that. That would seem helpful.
So Ron, can we vote on it with those,
That amendment?
that amendment?
If the board would like, you can.
So just to clarify, we don't need to address vigils in this because it's not a first amendment.
That's a different topic to itself. My personal preference is that you adopt this in some fashion, so we take care of those street demonstrations. If the board wants to look at vigils, study that and see something to be done.
Is that something you have for us next month?
Sure.
All right.
Because that answers the concern
It does.
that Ms. Holloway has
It does.
at this time.
That's right.
Very good. Well, I make a motion we approve the ordinance as written and as amended. And I understand some of the concern because it's the concern, that's why we're doing this, is because of the concern for First Amendment rights. And so I think Attorney Sneed has recommended this was trying to get something out there to give these folks some protection is what we're doing.
Or just open the door, show that we're not. This is being read, and it's been read in other cities, as if they have these ordinances in place that create obstacles to exercise your First Amendment rights. We want to remove that obstacle.
Right.
Well, I hope that's understood by everyone in the audience is we're taking the gloves off, so to speak, and the things that would hamper and hurt the First Amendment.
Exercise your First
Yep.
Amendment rights.
All right, we have a motion. Call for a vote.
Ryan Stone, aye.
Larry Harris, aye.
Maggie Tuttle, aye. Jennifer Willett, aye.
Approves 4-0.
The next item, 8C, resolution to allow virtual quasi-judicial meetings, which would be resolution 20-10. This will also be town attorney Sneed.
Actually, I get to put the talking, but Jennifer did the heavy lifting on this one. There's not much change. You adopted this policy with one exception. At the end of the policy is now a new paragraph that allows remote meetings for quasi-judicial hearings. However, one difference is it requires the consent of all participants for a new quasi-judicial hearing to be held remotely. And for the same reasons we discussed, the policy was adopted without allowing quasi-judicial hearings. Quasi-judicial are semi-trials. It's very difficult to a litigator, a trial lawyer, to gauge what he's dealing with if you can't see his witness fidget. And there's that flow of documents, all those things in a hearing that's different from a legislative hearing. The city of Asheville is experimenting with it. They have done their board of adjustment hearings, the variances remotely, and that's worked okay. I'm told they're not even going to attempt appeals remotely at this point. But this opens the door. If the parties are willing, then we can do it remotely, and variances should work fairly well.
Well, it seems like a lot of things, we have to move forward as best we can. And, it's just kind of the environment that we're in right now.
It's going to be with us for a while, and we can't tell
Yeah.
people they can't have their appeals for 2 years.
Yeah. Motion to approve.
Ryan Stone, aye.
Maggie Tuttle, aye. Jennifer Willett, aye.
Larry Harris, aye.
Approved 4-0. All right, Josh.
So item D is appointment to fill vacancies on town boards and commissions. And just let me clear up something here that's just, well, it's incorrect. Jillian Ballard is applying for the alternate term for ZBA. That is correct. Charles Fitzgerald is applying for the planning board, not the board of adjustment. And the planning board seat will be a 1-year term to fill the vacancy from Jennifer Willett. to end in 2021.
So one CBA, one planning.
That's correct.
Do we have a motion for Julian Ballard applying for the alternate term on the ZBA?
I would move to appoint Jillian Ballard for the second alternate on the ZBA.
We have a motion, all in favor? Roll call.
Rise and aye.
Maggie Tuttle, aye.
Jennifer Willett, aye.
Larry Harris, aye.
Okay, we have Charles Fitzgerald, who is looking to be on the planning board seat for 1 year that is currently left on that seat. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to appoint Charles Fitzgerald to that remaining term.
For the period of 1 year.
Yes, sir.
All in favor?
Rise and aye.
Maggie Tuttle, aye.
Jennifer Willett, aye.
Larry Harris, aye.
Approved 4-0. All right, public hearing, we have none.
All right,
Communicate.
Item 8E, that
Yes,
I
I'm sorry.
provided a supplement for you. It was not in your agenda. This is the golf course snack shop lease agreement for Miss Karen Davis. So, this is, I guess I can let Ron talk about this one too, but this one is something I think, I don't know if we ever signed the actual lease agreement with her in the beginning or not, but
Recall if it got signed or not. But as the board knows, last December, we bid the snack shop lease out, began the 1st of February. The present tenant decided that he should still have a lease for some reason. We brought a summary ejectment action to have him removed. We won that case in small claims. The pandemic hit, eviction shut down, and fortunately, we got on within the first week. They were hearing evictions again. District court tried it and won there again. And then the court, by supplemental order, gave it to the 26th of July to vacate. What's that done to Ms. Davis is it gives her, having won the bid, and gets 6 months or 5 months left, 6 months left to work. And what I've got in front of you, and this is, I talked to this about Josh, but how do we be fair about this, is she's not the one that caused this mess, and she's patiently waiting. This is a lease for 1.5 years, essentially, to January of 2022. It does have the provision, if she wanted, she can extend for 1 year after that, but to extend, she'd have to give notice in October, the same as our prior tenant should have done. But it is a 1.5 year lease instead of just a 1 year lease.
and I will say I did talk to Karen. She's excited. It's been, I think it's been ready to go for a while and is excited to get up and running. She did ask for a waiver of her August rent. Now she's going to start technically moving in on July 26th, and it's probably going to take her a little while to get up and going. So I told her I would share that with the board.
I'm fine with that.
I'm very confident in this.
And Ron, if I will ask you to clarify, as far as this lease agreement, she won the bid, so to speak, on lease because of what reason?
Well, first off, she paid more, she paid $67 more a month for rent. And I think the proposal in other fashions must have been more attractive to this board. And we found out after the fact that the bid that came to you was from Capping Real LLC, which was dissolved at the time it submitted an offer by the Secretary of State. So that was not a qualifying bid anyway.
Right. All right, just want to make sure everybody understood that. She got it because she beat the price, more money.
Would you advise that we put a line in here, maybe on 4 or something, that the first lease payment is due?
I can, if you approve this, I can just reprint the lease and take out and just provide, she gets possession August 1st and begins to pay the rent in September.
That'd be a good amendment, I think, to get it in writing for them.
Yeah, agreed.
What are the rules on, he has till the 26th?
26 would be-
Is that like suppose he doesn't vacate and leave, what happens?
Then I go get a writ of possession, and the sheriff will help him find his way to the door.
Motion to approve as amended.
Hang on till
Oh,
Ryan
I'm
gets
sorry, I
back.
didn't see him step out.
May I ask a curiosity question about the tenant that is leaving? Has he been paying rent?
Yeah, we have, can't remember the exact amount. He's paid quite a bit of rent since this has been going on.
He was paying it up to Purple Court, once he appealed, and that's been forwarded through to us.
And I think we had a couple of checks here that he had paid that we just didn't cash while we
What
proceeded.
about this last month's,
We're going to now, aren't we?
July?
I'll have to count, we just have to go give Josh the checks we did get, so we'll
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
Just kind of wondering how that worked.
Me too. Okay, we've got a motion on the floor to approve the lease with the August payment being waived. Is that the way to say it? All in favor?
Megan Tuttle.
Sorry, you go, Maggie.
Okay, Megan Tuttle, aye.
Jennifer Willett, aye.
Larry Harris, aye.
Ryan said, approved for it.
Okay. Nothing else, Josh, so,
Nothing else to surprise you.
all right. Have communications from the staff, Mr. Sneed.
Got nothing left, you used me up.
Okay, buddy. Josh?
I got a couple things. So I think Alderman Stone had asked for some COVID-19 related hours. At least with emergency services, since March, police has spent 179 hours dealing with COVID-19 to this date, and fire has spent 656 to this date dealing with COVID-19 issues. I'll try to give you updates on this as I get them. I'll tell you, we did plan in this budget year we're in now for sales tax to be down. Finishing up last year, May's numbers are down 24% from last year, which I'd expected probably 30. So a little bit better than that, and hopefully June's will be a little bit better. But that's where we are with that. And just something just to keep on your radar. If you'll recall, we accepted a Part F grant a number of years ago to do work at Veterans Park, and in that budget we had $40,000 pledged from Kiwanis. Well, that money is no longer available, so now we are going to be $40,000 short. We have to finish up this grant, and we can probably get an extension, but the grant is supposed to be finished up in October of 21, so we've got another year between now and then. Staff is going to work as hard as they can to see if we can find some money somewhere else. If we can do in-kind work, something along those lines, to reduce that $40,000 to make it a little bit cheaper. But just so you know, just to be transparent with you, that's where we are on that Part F grant. We've still got some work left to do, but we've got at least a year to look for that. So,
Was that going to be a shelter that
Yeah.
the Kiwanis Club would
Yeah,
do?
that, they put it in their budget a couple of years ago, but then other things came along and it just hasn't happened, so they used it elsewhere.
Right.
It doesn't mean down the road the Kiwanis will want to help, I think, wherever they can.
But that's sort of the target, that's sort of doable for the community to, if it's worth having, and Josh could present the case for it.
we'll beat some bushes and
Yeah.
maybe go to Rotary and Kiwanis and a couple other places or whatnot and see if we can raise it. So just wanted to let you know that. And that's all I've got.
Okay, communication from any of the aldermen?
I'm wondering if this is the former town clerks. Are you the former town clerk, Angela, or are you still the town clerk? Are you two town clerks now?
Officially, I will be your former town clerk when you swear Ms. Perry in.
Are we going to do that tonight, or is that next?
I guess
I think she wants to have some of her family.
we'll do it next. We'll do it
we get to see you again.
No, that's what we have.
Well, all the best to you.
I want to address the board and thank you for giving me 5 years. Sorry, I'm emotional. This was a very wonderful opportunity that you gave me. You are my friends. And I wish you good luck. And you're going to be in really good hands with Savannah and with Josh. There's some really good people here that care about this stuff.
And you were at the top of the list,
Absolutely.
young lady. And thank you for your service and for everything you've done for this town
Here, here.
and what you've had to put up with. Okay. Anyone else? I just want to clarify a statement that was made in our last budget meeting. We've had a lot of things when we were talking about what we're going to do as far as the garden position and about food insecurities. And I mean, we all got the same emails. But this one particular citizen made a comment that we were producing food at 18 cents a pound. I want to clarify that and just tell you that's not at all correct. The actual cost is 30 times that. It's $5.46 if you average the last 7 years of what versus what's been produced for Bounty and Soul versus what we have paid to have that done. And the average is $36.58 over the last 7 years, and it's $5.46 for that. And if you took that money just for Bounty and Soul, you could produce about or purchase about 10 times the amount of food. So it's not about Bounty and Soul and the money or the food that we give away. It's a combination of recreation for folks out there, for learning abilities on how to raise gardens, and it is the food, doing things for food insecurities is just a small part of what they do down there. So I just wanted to clarify that, make sure that the town taxpayers know what it cost us to give that food to Bounty and Soul. And that's it. I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ryan Stone, aye.
Aye.
Oh, I thought we'd just do that one by
Well,
acclamation.
I don't know. I just
Yay.
doing it by habit.
Okay.
Jennifer Willett, aye.
Larry Harris, aye.
Maggie Tuttle, aye.
It's adjourned. Meeting is adjourned. 4-0.
Done.